Amazing moment revealed, single moms crying baby calmed by strangers' touching act of kindness. Emily felt like a ship lost at sea, swamped by waves that carried her further from the shore of stability. It had been a whirlwind of late-night shifts, endless nursing responsibilities, and the triumphs and trials of motherhood. Now, sitting slumped at a corner table in the bustling cafe, she struggled to tame her fussy baby, Olivia, while trying to wrap her mind around reports due at work the very next day. The clatter of cups and the drone of chatter felt like a deafening symphony, amplifying her isolation. Each harsh glance from the patrons sent icy tendrils of insecurity thrumming through her. Did they see her as weak? Just another overwhelmed single mother incapable of handling it all? A heavy fog of guilt settled in her chest with every sharp cry that escaped Olivia's lips. She was supposed to be the calm in the chaos, yet here she was, failing in public. Deep down, two contrasting fears surged within her: a yearning for professional success and a fear of losing the precious time with her daughter. How could she nurture either of these sides without sacrificing the other? It was a bitter pill to swallow, and the tension felt insurmountable. The cafe's atmosphere weighed down on her like a lead blanket, filling her lungs with exhaustion. Just then, the tumult of her thoughts exploded when Olivia's cries reached a fever pitch. Panic rose as Emily's fingers trembled over her laptop keyboard. "Please, just be quiet for a moment," she whispered, her heart racing. It was then that a gentle touch broke her spiral of despair. "Can I hold her?" a kind voice asked. It was a stranger, a man with empathetic eyes and an engaging smile. The moment his hands cradled Olivia, the baby's wails softened, replaced by inquisitive coos. In that instant, the invisible burden on Emily's shoulders lightened. They exchanged glances, a connection forming through a shared understanding of struggle. "I once worked as a social worker," he offered, as she nervously shared her own narrative of juggling a demanding career and motherhood. "Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." Their conversation deepened, shifting from small talk to the raw depths of her dreams: the promotion she yearned for, the guilt that gnawed at her heart, and the solitude that blanketed her nights. Dave listened intently, his expressions flickering between compassion and an unmistakable shadow of pain. She sensed a storm brewing within him as he hesitated before sharing his own tale of loss: a single mother he once fought for, who shattered under the weight of her circumstances. The pang of anguish settled into Emily's chest. Could this shared vulnerability be a lifeline? Yet, just as she felt a flicker of hope, the reality of their lives crashed down on her. Would she have the courage to step into the unknown and grasp that promotion? Or would she let fear dictate her choices? As Dave gathered his things, his warm gaze lingered on her, and in that moment, her heart quickened with a dizzying mix of gratitude and uncertainty. The world outside spun on, but she was caught in an emotional whirlpool where kindness felt like a flickering flame against an overwhelming darkness. The call of opportunity rang in her pocket, but as she glanced back at Dave, his silhouette fading into the crowd, her insides twisted with the fear that she was losing another anchor. Would she dare to embrace the chance for change when the stakes felt so high? The answer hung in the air, unresolved, as the crowded cafe buzzed on, leaving her at a poignant crossroads. Emily returned to her desk that evening, the twinkling lights of the city outside her window juxtaposing the storm brewing within her. The mingled feelings of inspiration and trepidation pulsed through her. Dave's presence had offered a fleeting moment of comfort, a reminder of shared struggles, yet as she stared at the blinking cursor on her screen, she felt the familiar clutch of self-doubt creeping back in. She needed to decipher this tangled web of emotion if she was to navigate the path ahead. With Olivia peacefully sleeping beside her, Emily took a deep breath and began to draft her report. The words flowed somewhat, infused with her resolve to claim her ambitions. Yet, each phrase felt weighted with hesitation, as though every keystroke threatened to unravel her fragile equilibrium. Would submitting this work demonstrate competence, or merely highlight her shortcomings? She strained to visualize her potential promotion and what that shift would mean. The follow-up meeting loomed, a formidable challenge. Would she command the room with the confidence of a leader, or would she falter under the scrutiny of her peers? The image of her colleagues, each more assured and polished than she felt, played in her mind like a loop. Her hands stilled, and a whisper of fear snaked around her heart. Was this ambition a selfish pursuit that would pull her away from Olivia? The internal conflict raged as if challenging her very essence. She realized it wasn't just about the job. It was about proving to herself that she was capable, worthy, and resilient. In the wake of Dave's kindness, a simple act that had pierced her despair, Emily felt a latent strength ignite within her. Conversing with him had sparked something deep down, a flicker of courage that had lain dormant amidst the routine of survival. Analyzing her reflection in the darkened window, she acknowledged the truth: this journey wouldn't be easy. The balance between being a dedicated mother and a successful professional was a constant tightrope act of wins and losses. Yet, perhaps that was the beauty of it, the intricate dance of juggling both roles rather than choosing one at the expense of the other. Slowly, resolve began coiling around her heart, fresh and invigorating. After hours of wrestling with the keyboard, Emily finally hit send on her report, the undeniable weight of the commitment pressing onto her shoulders. No longer was she a passive participant in her life, she had taken a step forward in the direction of her dreams. A mix of exhilaration and anxiety differentially coursed through her veins. As if summoned by her fervent intentions, a new email notification chimed. It was a reply from her manager, requesting a one-on-one discussion. Her breath caught in anticipation as possibilities surged like waves against a solid cliff. Would she have the opportunity to voice her aspirations? Would this meeting catalyze meaningful change? The thought of leveraging her newfound strength sent tingles of electricity through her. Just as the tiniest spark can ignite a bonfire, her small steps might lead to impactful outcomes. The echo of Dave's empathy lingered in her heart as a reminder that reaching out could bridge divides, both personal and professional. With that thought swirling through her mind, Emily took a moment to envision her most fervent goals, the life she wanted to create not just for herself, but for Olivia. As the clock ticked softly in the background, she embraced the uncertainty, ready to rise to the next challenge. Then her phone buzzed again, this time with a message that made her stomach drop, a notification of an unexpected change in her department. The ground beneath her shifted as she pondered what this might mean for her promotion, and more importantly, for her future. Would it push her closer to her dreams, or further away? Emily awoke the next morning to the soft murmur of Olivia's babbling. The morning light streamed in, illuminating the room and bringing a sense of warmth that felt comforting yet fleeting. As she cradled her daughter, a feeling of dread combined with excitement churned in her stomach. Today was singular. Her meeting held the potential to redefine her trajectory in the company. The notification from her department had left her restless. Change could mean setbacks or opportunities, either way, the uncertainty gripped her like a vice. She carefully dressed Olivia, each fastening of the onesie tightening the knot of anxious anticipation in her chest. Her reflection in the bathroom mirror showed a woman determined to conquer her fears, yet the shadows of self-doubt lingered like storm clouds. At the office, the atmosphere buzzed with chatter and activity. Emily steeled herself, each step to her desk feeling like a march toward the front lines. The sight of her colleagues only exacerbated her insecurities. Their laughter echoed in her ears, a sharp contrast to her internal symphony of uncertainty. How was she supposed to believe she had a place among them? As she prepared her notes for the meeting, she recalled Dave's sentiment, the importance of vulnerability in strength. Could she truly embrace that in front of her team? Taking a deep breath, she pulled her shoulders back, attempting to physically shake off the weight of her worries. It would be a performance, she realized a presentation not merely of facts and figures but of herself. The moment came all too quickly. Emily found herself seated across from her manager, Andrew, an expression of professionalism etched on his face. She opened her mouth, her voice quivering slightly as she began presenting her vision for the department's future. Every eye on her, each judging gaze amplified her sense of the spotlight, yet it also ignited an urge to fight back. As she spoke, the words began to flow more freely, becoming more comfortable, laced with her passion and aspirations. She highlighted her goals not just for herself but for the team, all while trying to reflect the nurturing spirit she aimed to embody both as a mother and a professional. Halfway through, the energy in the room shifted. There among the skepticism she caught a glimpse of intrigue in Andrew's eyes. With every point she made, she began to see the respect she craved in her peers. The flame of self-assurance flickered to life, illuminating the confidence she had hidden for too long. But just as she was beginning to revel in that moment, the shadows of doubt crept back in. Overcommit parents, career climbers, and ambitious colleagues swirled through her mind, whispering fears of inadequacy. After concluding her presentation, silence filled the room. "Emily," Andrew began, his tone measured. "Your insights are impactful, and I appreciate your passion for this role. But I need to let you know of some changes that will affect your position." As he continued, she braced for the impact, the words hanging heavy around her. Would they crush the fragile confidence she had just begun to build? "A new position is opening up for a team leader, someone dedicated and skilled." He paused, meeting her gaze. "And you are definitely a contender." Her heart raced, uncertainty tangling with exhilaration. She had battled through a maze of doubt, and now the possibility lay before her like a treasure waiting to be discovered. Could this be the break she had longed for? But each opportunity comes with its sacrifices. Would she be prepared to embrace that shattered balance again? As she left the meeting, the edges of her reality shifted and blurred, revealing a path towards something greater, yet so unervingly precarious. One thing was clear: her decisions to leap forward would require an even deeper confrontation with her fears, especially as the news of departmental restructuring loomed over her like a silent storm. Just as Emily began to process her newfound possibilities, her phone buzzed in her pocket, vibrating with an urgent message that sent a chill down her spine. This alteration in her career path wasn't the only storm brewing in her life. Would it reveal truths she wasn't ready to face? Emily tentatively glanced at her phone, the urge to ignore it battling with her desire to know what news awaited her. The screen displayed a text from her sister, Claire, filled with anxious emojis and an urgency that made her heartbeat quicken. "Mom's in the hospital. They're running tests." The message crashed over her like a wave, the exhilaration of possibility being swept away in an undertow of fear. Her heart plummeted at the thought of her mother, already fragile from years of managing a chronic illness. What would this mean for her? The responsibility of supporting her family, especially while attempting to launch into a leadership role, felt like an insurmountable pressure. Doubt whispered that she couldn't handle both. She had already stretched herself too thin. Emily slipped away from her desk, seeking refuge in the stairwell. The muted cacophony of the office faded into the background, replaced by the echo of her thoughts hammering against her skull. She leaned against the cold wall, attempting to ground herself in the reality of the moment. Deep breaths, she reminded herself. She couldn't break down, not now. Not when she had just begun to carve a path through doubt. Taking a moment, she pulled out her phone and reread Claire's message. The immediate instinct was to race to the hospital, but the weight of her responsibilities at work quickly pulled her back. She might be on the cusp of an opportunity that could change everything. Torn between loyalty to her family and ambition for her career, she felt like a pendulum swinging between two extremes. Decisions were never simple. Should she inform Andrew about her mother? Would that be seen as a legitimate reason for needing flexibility, or would it undermine the confidence he had just shown in her? Panic clawed at her. It would be easy to bury this feeling, to suppress it for the sake of her professional image. But what would that cost her in the long run? Just as she began to spiral into a whirlpool of indecision, her phone vibrated again, this time with a message from Andrew. "Can we meet in my office? I'd like to discuss the leader role more in depth." The timing felt almost uncanny. Was the universe directing her, or was it merely the pressing chaos of life? She considered the fact that stepping up as a leader could also mean stepping back when crises arose. It was a thin line to walk, balancing vulnerability and strength. With a sigh, Emily knew she needed to confront Andrew, not just about the role but also to express the shifting dynamics in her life. She had to advocate for herself, illustrating that emerging as a leader could mean embracing life's unpredictable storms. Composing herself, she straightened her blouse, peering deeply into her own reflection in a small mirror on the wall of the stairwell. Today, she would not just be presenting strategies for success, she would showcase resilience. She had the opportunity to redefine her role not merely at work but also in how she approached her personal challenges. Gathering the courage she was coming to recognize as her own, she stepped out of the stairwell and made her way toward Andrew's office. Each step became a silent affirmation that she was ready to embrace all facets of her life with integrity and strength. As she reached for the door handle, the thought struck her: what was she really willing to sacrifice for a chance at success? The tension hung delicately in the air, and she understood that answers might only come when she was truly honest with herself. With a deep breath, she opened the door and stepped into Andrew's office, ready to confront not just the challenge of leadership but the trials ahead. Would the revelations of this meeting alter her perspective on balance, family, and self-worth forever? The moment the door clicked shut, Emily felt the air shift. Andrew was seated at his imposing desk, but it was his expression that caused a stir deep within her. His face held a mixture of determination and curiosity, suggesting that this conversation could unfold in unexpected ways. She squared her shoulders, aware that she was about to lay bare more than just her ambitions. "Emily," he began, his tone steady, "I appreciate you coming in so quickly." "Thank you for the opportunity," she managed, a knot forming in her stomach. Words about her personal turmoil clawed at her throat, but she kept them at bay for now. She needed to showcase her commitment, to establish herself as a leader who could navigate through the chaos of both professional and personal arenas. "I think you have great potential for this leadership role," Andrew continued, his eyes glinting with earnest interest, "but I'd like to hear your vision for the team moving forward. What do you see as the biggest challenge we face?" The bait anchored her focus, directing her away from the tumult of her family situation. "I believe our biggest challenge is aligning our objectives with our changing industry landscape," Emily said, her hands gesturing as she spoke, each movement feeling more confident as she framed her thoughts. As she articulated her vision, she felt the pressure of fear dissipating, replaced by the thrill of connection both with her position and with Andrew across the table. But even as she presented her ideas, the unrelenting worry about her mother gnawed at her. Would she have to withdraw? If her mother's condition required her to be more available, could she balance her newfound leadership goals with her family's needs? She paused mid-sentence, suddenly aware of Andrew's steady gaze on her. The moment felt fragile. "I also need to be honest, Andrew," she took a breath, "there are personal matters I'm currently dealing with that may impact my availability." "What is going on?" His voice softened, a stark contrast to the previous business-like atmosphere. A flicker of empathy crossed his face, and for a heartbeat, Emily felt a sense of allyship. "My mom is in the hospital," she forced out, the words heavy yet liberating at the same time. She expected the specter of doubt to rear its head again, ready to judge her vulnerability. Yet, instead, Andrew leaned back, his expression thoughtful rather than critical. "Family is important," he replied slowly. "It's understandable if you need some flexibility during this time. We can work around your schedule if you want to take on this role." I believe strong leaders didn't just manage teams, they also manage their circumstances with honesty. Emily felt a strange warmth bloom inside her. It was as if the weight of her apprehension shifted, the perception of leadership transformed. It didn't have to be synonymous with strength alone, it could accommodate the tenderness of her humanity. "We can talk more later about how we can make this work," he suggested, "but I want you to know that your well-being comes first. This job offers plenty of challenges, and I believe your instincts are right. You can embrace all of it." The snowball of fear within her didn't immediately vanish, but doubt receded, replaced by a determination to balance both areas of her life. "Thank you, Andrew. I appreciate your understanding," Emily replied, her voice firmer. They discussed the role further, but clouds of anxiety began to disperse. She caught glimpses of both opportunity and support. As the meeting drew to an end, Emily realized something profound. She could redefine leadership not by forsaking her family but by allowing her vulnerabilities to shape her into a more empathetic and authentic leader. Walking out of the office, the world felt different. Each step resonated with a newfound sense of courage. The struggle wasn't over. Instead, it had morphed into a complex dance of responsibilities and aspirations. But as she reached her desk, her heart dropped when another message appeared on her phone. "Mom's tests came back," it read. A thrill of dread rippled through her. The real challenge was just beginning. How would she now navigate the dual worlds of personal emergency and professional development? Emily's heart raced as she stared at the ominous message on her phone. "Mom's tests came back." The words blurred, and she felt the walls of her world begin to constrict around her. What could the results hold? With each heartbeat, anxiety twisted within her, contending with the resolve she had just begun to cultivate. She turned away from her desk, aware that her colleagues were beginning to filter in, absorbed in their morning routines. This was the life she desired, a vibrant intersection of professional success and personal stability. Yet reality loomed, heavy and urgent. Would she be able to shoulder this new leadership role at such a critical juncture? A sudden urge gripped her, an impulsive need to flee to the hospital, to be at her mother's side. But even within this maelstrom of emotional turmoil, a flicker of practicality emerged. This was the precise moment Andrew had spoken about. Leadership was not merely about handling tasks but about managing the crises that life threw at you. She raised her chin, reminding herself of the conversation in Andrew's office. "You can embrace all of it." Those words echoed in her mind like a mantra. Perhaps this was the moment to prove her adaptability, to show she could withstand the pressures of both her mother's health and her professional ambitions. Gathering her composure, Emily returned to her desk and opened her laptop. An email awaited her from Andrew. His message conveyed support but also outlined the pivotal projects ahead. They needed her to guide the team through what could be difficult changes in their structure and direction. A sense of purpose ignited within her. Though her heart felt like a turbulent sea, her mind began to strategize. Emily began to sketch out a plan on a notepad, bullet points of action items stemming from Andrew's outline. This was her territory, crafting organized solutions from chaos. Amidst her thoughts, she understood this challenge was not an obstacle but a chance to define her leadership. As she wrote, she contemplated the notion of vulnerability Andrew had introduced. Could she instill a culture of openness and understanding within her team, drawing from her own experience with vulnerability? It was a radical thought, but perhaps her journey could inspire others. She saw herself facilitating discussions on mental health and wellness, creating an environment where everyone could feel safe to express their challenges. Left with a clear vision, she summoned her courage. There was no denying she'd have to be transparent about her own circumstances, but this could foster a deeper connection within the team. The fear of judgment nagged at her, but the potential benefits surged others' interpretations of her strength. Finishing her outline, Emily stood tall, at once energized and apprehensive. She decided, she would share her personal narrative in the upcoming meeting. The thought sent shivers through her, but she knew stifling her truth would deny her the growth she sought both personally and professionally. Just before the meeting began, her phone vibrated again. Another message. Her stomach twisted as she read, "Dr. Ramirez wants to see you." With her heartbeat echoing in her ears, she glanced around the buzzing office. Her team was relying on her, and her family needed her too. The moment of choice loomed before her, demanding she confront her fears head-on. Would stepping across the threshold of vulnerability prove to be her greatest transformation, or would it unravel her ambition? As the door to the conference room swung open, the moment came to find out where her loyalties truly lay. Emily stepped into the conference room, the weight of her decision palpable. Her colleagues gathered around the sleek table, their expressions a mixture of curiosity and support. The room buzzed with the low hum of conversations, but all she felt was a suffocating anticipation. This was her moment to lead, to connect, to transform herself. She inhaled deeply, feeling the air fill her lungs with a blend of fear and determination. Would unveiling her vulnerability to this group empower her, or would it expose her fragility? Emily recalled Andrew's insight, the notion of leadership rooted in authenticity. This wasn't merely about her, it was about fostering a culture where everyone felt empowered to be themselves. As she shared the recent struggles with her mother's health, a hush fell over the room. Her voice quivered with emotion, each word a step toward relinquishing the tight grip of fear. "I'm faced with challenges that affect both my personal and professional life," she began, her gaze sweeping across the team. "But I believe that by sharing our vulnerabilities, we can grow stronger together." A murmur of understanding rippled through the group, she could see brows furrowing in empathy. The tension in her chest began to dissipate, just a little. She extended her thoughts to encompass the team's own potential struggles, inviting them to share their thoughts. Would they respond positively? Would they heed her call to be vulnerable in return? To her astonishment, one by one, they began to speak up. Colleagues shared their experiences battling personal issues, workplace pressures, and the battle of balancing expectations and reality. This was the environment Emily had envisioned, a space where genuine connection overcame the veneer of professionalism. At that moment, Emily realized not only was she channeling her own struggles into leadership, but she was also fortifying her colleagues. With each discussion, the air thickened with a palpable sense of community, laughter interjected sadness, and together they shared not only grievances but also their aspirations. The meeting concluded with palpable enthusiasm. Action items were drafted, but more enriching than the projects was the bond formed between them. Emily felt a surge of confidence she had long sought. As she exited the conference room, a wave of relief washed over her. For the first time in days, she felt buoyed not just by her resolve but by her team's collective strength. However, lurking beneath this newfound confidence was an unsettling thought: despite her efforts to connect, time was an unforgiving force. The situation with her mother persisted, and despite her best strategies, Emily couldn't shake the burgeoning fear that once again, life would soon carry her away from this nascent sense of belonging. That evening, as she settled into her favorite chair, her phone chimed. An unfamiliar number appeared on the screen, her heart raced. Was it related to her mother? She hesitated, finger hovering over the screen. Was it a moment of choice once more? Would she dive into this uncertainty with the same openness she had cultivated at work, or would she retreat into her shell? As she hit answer, time seemed to stretch, and anxiety surged through her once again. What news awaited her on the other end? Would she encounter yet another challenge that would require her to shift her perspective and adapt? The voice on the other end spoke, and the weight of curiosity deepened, drawing her into yet another pivoting moment in her life. The voice was soft, yet authoritative, and as Emily listened, a firm resolve began to settle within her. It was the hospital calling about her mother. The doctor wanted to discuss her treatment plan. Emily's pulse quickened, the gravity of the conversation looming in her mind. She was pulled from the comforting blanket of her work meeting back into the harsh chill of reality. "Would you be available to come in tomorrow?" the voice asked, piercing through her burgeoning tension. "Of course," Emily replied, her voice steadier than she felt. A knot twisted in her stomach as she contemplated the heaviness of the discussion ahead. Every instinct told her to retreat, to avoid facing the stark truth of her mother's declining health. But she understood now that running away had never nurtured her growth. The call ended, leaving her staring into space. She felt echoed feelings of uncertainty and determination weaving through her thoughts. Could she truly embrace vulnerability in both her personal and professional life? She functionalized her anxiety into a plan, focusing on her ability to turn this daunting journey into a testament to resilience. The team had already proven that sharing burdens could uplift everyone involved. What would happen if she applied the same philosophy to her family? Emily picked up her notebook, now semi-filled with reflections from the conference room meeting. She opened to a blank page and wrote, "Vulnerability as strength." The words tumbled out, guided by her thoughts. What do I need to prepare for our meeting tomorrow? She pondered aloud, the notebook becoming an anchor against the tide of her fears. She began to jot down questions for the doctor, navigating a stream of concerns not just about her mother's health, but also what it might mean for her future. Each question drafted was a sign that she was willing to confront this head-on, not hide from it. Somewhere in the midst of this mental exercise, a quiet strength began to unfold within her. Emily's heart shifted from fear to a fierce determination to advocate for her mother. How could she channel her newfound insights from the workplace into this area of her life? The essence of leadership she found with her colleagues could surely translate to her family dynamics as well. That night, as the moonlight filtered softly through her window, she surrendered to the comfort of plan-making. The doubt still loomed, yet enveloped now by a stronger resolve. The weight of her responsibilities felt less suffocating. Perhaps there was an opportunity to practice the connection she craved. As she reflected on the conversations at work, Emily envisioned using a similar approach with her mother. What if she brought forth the same authenticity and openness she had fostered in the conference room? What if they discussed fears, hopes, and dreams instead of only the sterile realities of treatments and medical terminology? It was worth exploring. The next morning felt different. The sun streamed through her kitchen window and ignited possibilities. As she prepared to leave for the hospital, Emily built a narrative in her mind, one where she wasn't just a daughter but also a partner in her mother's journey. There was strength in their combined vulnerability. But as she pulled into the hospital parking lot, an unsettling thought gripped her. What if the conversation she hoped to have didn't unfold the way she envisioned? What if it pushed her mother further into despair rather than bonding them together? Just as she was about to step out of the car, her phone buzzed again, this time a message. "Call me when you can." The sender was Andrew. The weight of that seemingly innocuous message settled heavily in her gut. What did he know that she didn't? Emily took a deep breath, holding on to both the determination and anxiety swirling within her. Did she dare to reach out for the guidance she might need to navigate this uncharted territory? The time had come to confront not only her fears about her mother but the illumination Andrew could offer in this moment of personal upheaval. As she prepared to face what lay ahead, Emily realized she was diving headfirst into deeper waters, uncertainty looming with the promise of revelation. Would she emerge from this meeting transformed, or would it reveal an inner fragility she had yet to confront? Stepping out of the vehicle, Emily felt the weight of impending conversations press down on her. The hospital loomed before her, its sterile facade a stark reminder of the fragility of life. She squared her shoulders, mentally reciting the questions she had prepared for the doctor. But the words felt inadequate against the tidal wave of emotions raging inside her. As she walked toward the entrance, Emily found herself navigating a bustling environment, echoing footsteps, murmurs of families, and faint beeping from machines, a cascade of sounds that amplified her anxiety. It was here, amidst the chaos, she needed to summon both clarity and strength. Balancing her own fears while keeping her mother's well-being at the forefront was the real challenge at hand. Upon entering her mother's room, the sight took her aback. There lay her mother, frilier than Emily remembered, a slight smile still gracing her features despite the circumstances. In that instant, Emily was reminded of the deeper connection that spanned between them, one forged through every late-night conversation and shared laughter. It was now that connection she needed to nurture. "Hey, Mom," Emily said, her voice a mixture of warmth and trepidation. Her mother's smile widened, but Emily noticed a flicker of expectation in her eyes. It was almost as if her mother was waiting for her to take the lead. "How are you feeling?" Emily asked, her throat tightening. "Better, I think. But you should ask the doctor about my treatment plan," her mother replied, her tone revealing a vulnerability that mirrored Emily's internal state. There was a gravity to their shared truth that could not be ignored. "I will. But first, I'd like to talk about everything," Emily said, wrestling with the apprehension that this conversation might unravel old wounds instead of bringing healing. Her mother's expression shifted, the anticipation settling into something akin to worry. "You mean, how I'm doing or what you're feeling?" Emily hesitated, suddenly overwhelmed by the task of unearthing feelings that had long been buried under the guise of duty and the routine of life. "Both, I think." She found herself reflecting on her earlier thoughts about vulnerability. This was at the moment to practice what she had intended. "I am scared, Mom. And it's okay to admit that. I want us to talk about how you're really feeling," she said, her heart racing as the truth spilled from her lips. The admission felt both liberating and terrifying. Her mother reached for Emily's hand, offering the sort of grounding comfort that only a parent could provide. "Well, in that case," she said softly, "I'd like to talk about what this means for us both." The conversation deepened, weaving through topics of hope, fear, and the unspoken wishes each harbored. Emily realized that they were courageous, allowing emotions to surface, an act she had often denied herself. Admitting fear, expressing desire, and acknowledging vulnerability were all pathways to resilience, both for herself and her mother. As the discussion unfolded, Emily found herself crystallizing her resolve. Each shared secret forged a new bond, amplifying her earlier enlightenment gained from work. This was leadership redefined, not by directives, but through emotional engagement and authentic connection. The meeting with the doctor arrived, and they entered armed with questions, clarity, and a newfound shared strength. To Emily, this collective approach felt right. She was no longer merely a spectator in her mother's health journey, she was an active participant, a partner navigating the uncertain waters of treatment decisions. But as they faced the doctor, another unsettling thought swept through Emily. Was she truly equipped to handle whatever news awaited them? What if the treatment plan presented choices that weighed heavily on their hearts? Just before entering the consultation room, her phone buzzed again, the same message from Andrew flashing across her screen. "Give me a call, I want to help." In those moments, Emily stood at a crossroads, knowing that seeking guidance could either be the support she needed or another layer of complication. Would reaching out to Andrew fortify her in upcoming decisions, or plunge her deeper into uncertainty? The tension thickened, leaving her breathless as she readied herself for the conversation ahead. With each beat of her heart, Emily felt the weight of her dual responsibilities, a balancing act between her professional aspirations and the emotional turmoil awaiting her within the hospital walls. Today, she wouldn't just confront her mother's health issues, she would also embrace the role of a leader, not just at work but within her family. Flexibility, honesty, and connection, the themes that had emerged in her conversations with Andrew, were now fundamental to navigating this personal crisis. As they entered the doctor's office, Emily gripped her mother's hand. Each question felt like a declaration of her commitment to both her mother and herself. They delved into treatment options, discussing prognosis with a candidness that had eluded them in earlier conversations. It was a revelation. The conversation, rather than being merely clinical, blossomed into a meaningful dialogue that layered vulnerability over the stark medical realities. After reviewing their plan, her mother leaned closer, her voice steadier than before. "I'm grateful you're here, Emily. I know the pressure you face at work. Honestly, I was worried about that." Emily absorbed her mother's words, realizing that her anxieties were mirrored in the woman she had long depended on. "Mom, that's precisely why I wanted to talk openly with you. It's not just about your health, I want us to support each other through this process." As the moments unfurled, Emily unlocked a deeper understanding of her family's emotional landscape, drawing upon the insights she had gathered at work. She began to see that leadership extended beyond office walls. It resided in the connections we cultivate with those we love. Hours later, as Emily finally sat back in her office chair, a wave of fulfillment washed over her. She had navigated the hospital visit with grace and empathy, acquiring a deeper bond with her mother, one rooted in honesty and shared strength. Returning to her workplace, Emily noticed a new energy coursing through her. The poignant discussions she orchestrated with her team had forged an unbreakable solidarity, yet now, her personal experiences enriched that dynamic, creating a more integrated version of herself. In the days that followed, she dove into her projects with renewed vigor, championing the culture of openness she had instituted during her earlier meeting. It acted as a catalyst, transforming her colleagues' attitudes. Together, they rallied to support their own challenges, creating camaraderie and vulnerability that yielded impressive results. The final twist came at her monthly performance review, a pivotal moment that would encapsulate her journey. As she entered the conference room, she felt a distinct shift within herself. Gone was the shy woman riddled with self-doubt. In her place stood a confident leader, poised to articulate her vision and personal growth. Andrew gestured for her to share her aspirations and feedback, but before he spoke, Emily took a deep breath. "I want to reflect on what has unfolded both at work and in my personal life," she said, her voice steady. "I've learned the power of being vulnerable. It's not a weakness, it's our path to collective strength. We all face challenges, and rather than shy away from them, I've realized that embracing these moments allows us to connect and innovate more effectively." Her colleagues listened, leaning in. The confidence she exuded resonated with them, bolstering their own resolve. "Emily," Andrew interjected, complementing her narrative with sincerity, "this perspective sets the groundwork for not only team productivity but also individual fulfillment. Your growth has been remarkable, and I believe you are ready for the leadership role we discussed." The words washed over her like warm sunlight. She had achieved her professional aspirations, but more than that, she had transformed her understanding of connection and leadership. No longer trapped by her fears, she felt empowered. Emotions that had threatened to pull her under now buoyed her toward success. As Emily left the meeting room, her heart buoyed with recognition. She had accomplished what she once thought insurmountable and built a bridge between her dual worlds. A deep sense of contentment filled her, marking a profound transformation as she transitioned from struggling single mother to empowered leader. Now, amid the vibrations of a win-win mindset, she grasped the significance of resilience. Life presented challenges, but with each step, she had learned to emerge stronger, weaving authenticity into every aspect. Vulnerability is strength, she reminded herself, and this affirmation would guide every future step she took. She was prepared to conquer the unpredictability of life with grace, confident that she possessed the skills to lead in every realm. Today was not merely a resolution, it was the inception of her ongoing journey, one where challenges became opportunities disguised as lessons. You need to subscribe now to our channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, your support makes all the difference. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Let's engage in this journey together. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this empowering conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to show your support.